Hey again everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beards and Board Games with me, Georgie. Today, another guest review from a new reviewer on YouTube called Kirk, who's started up his own YouTube channel called Roll and Move Reviews. Now, he has got quite a few videos up already, and I believe he plans on keeping the speed of these videos coming at this rate. So, if you want to go and check him out, you can find him at Roll and Move Reviews on YouTube. He today is going to be reviewing Star Trek Fleet Captains. That's right, it is Star Trek, Kirk. I mean, given your name, I know you probably had that couple of times, and given the stuff that you come out with in the review, it's kind of shocking to me. I'm sure it's going to be kind of shocking to some of the viewers as well, so please honestly hold on. His review is good, it's just his knowledge on the Star Trek and Star Wars universe seems to be a bit shady at best. So I would also like to give a quick shout out to meepleshirts.com, who kindly sent me this spaghetti and meeple shirt. Really cool. So I've also posted that on Twitter, so hopefully you'll see that, and hopefully you'll see this video. Guys, let's go and take a look at Kirk's review of Star Trek Fleet Captains.
Thanks, Georgie. It was a really tough decision to decide what game to review for your show, but I figured because everybody's so excited about Star Wars right now, it would be the perfect time to review Star Trek Fleet Captains. Because Star Wars and Star Trek are basically the same thing, right? Kidding, it's a joke! It's a joke! Kidding! Just a joke. Georgie, I saved that joke for your show because I didn't want to deal with the backlash. Okay, where was I? Oh, that's right. Star Trek Fleet Captains. Let's take a look. Starfleet Captains is a 2 to 4 player game in which one side takes on the role of the Federation and one side takes on the role of the Klingons. You're going to be flying your ships around space trying to accomplish missions. Each mission has a victory point total assigned to it. You're going to be trying to reach a predetermined total victory point number, and the first side to hit that number wins the game. You're going to be playing these ships throughout the game on the Federation. You get a lot of cool models. You get a couple different versions of the Enterprise. You get the Reliant from Wrath of Khan. You have the Voyager. And from one of my personal favorites, the Defiant from Deep Space Nine. And you get a bunch of other besides these. The Klingons, not as original or creative in their ship design. So you get a lot of different models of ships whose names I can't pronounce. But you see a lot of repeats in the sculpts. And unless you're a huge Star Trek fan, you're probably not going to recognize a lot of the names of these ships anyway. You're going to build your fleet out of those ships, and each ship has a corresponding card in the ship deck here. And you see each ship has a size. You are going to predetermine the size of your fleet. The game recommends you play a fleet size of 10. So what you'll do is you'll randomly flip these cards and take the ships until you hit a total of size 10. So you keep going until you hit 10, and I didn't really hit that there, but let's just say I did. Once you have your fleet built, you are going to get your missions. And you see each ship has 3 different types of missions: science, influence, and combat. And what you'll do is, for whatever number that ship has there, you'll draw that many missions from that deck. So if I have science missions, I'll draw from the science mission deck. If I have influence missions, I'll draw from the influence missions deck. And the same with combat. If I have combat, I draw that many from the combat deck. Then I shuffle all those together, and those are all the missions I'm going to have available to me throughout the game. Once you've mustered your fleet and received your orders, your missions, now you're going to take command of your fleet by building your command deck. Each side has 8 subdecks for the command deck that you choose, and each subdeck has a different theme that's going to make your crew and your ships better at something in particular. So for example, if you have a lot of combat missions, you might want the Captain Kirk deck because you know he's more of a headstrong fighter. But if you're doing a lot more influence missions or things that are exploration based, that's much more up Captain Picard's alley, so you might want his deck instead. Each subdeck has a couple different cards in it. You have combat cards, you have ops cards, and you have crew cards. And you see some cards have multiple titles, and that just gives you the opportunity to play those different types for different effects. The combat cards obviously are played during combat, make your ship tougher. The ops cards are played at all different times, testing things like shields, weapons, sensors, things like that. And then your crew cards are actually played down on ships, and they give that ship a permanent bonus as long as that crew member's on there. You're going to select 4 subdecks that best suit your fleet and your missions. You're going to shuffle those together for a total of 40 cards in your command deck, and you're ready to play. This is what unexplored space looks like in Starfleet Captains. It's made up of these unrevealed location tiles. You're going to be moving through these. To reveal a tile, you can either move on it and reveal it, but A lot of these locations are going to have hazards for you. They're going to have things that impede your progress. So what you might want to do is do a scanner action before you move on, which just means you look at the tile, put it back face down. Now you're free to move there or anywhere else you want to go. Once you move onto a tile, there's a couple things you look at. You have the name of that region of space, or at least the biggest obstacle there. You have some artwork to show you, give you an idea what it looks like. Any game effects will be over here. Then you have your encounter range and your size. Size represents how quickly you could move through that section of space. Your movement is based on your current engine rating on your dial. So let's say you had an engines of 9 going in. To move through here, I'd have to spend 5 of those 9 movement points. Say I already spent a lot of them, I only had 4 left now, I would not be able to move out of this space this turn. The encounter number just gives you a range to roll on a d6. You roll your die, and if you hit within that range, then you draw a card from this encounter deck. And the encounter deck's pretty cool. A lot of different things from storylines and the movies and the TV shows that you get to participate in. Some of them have victory point values, and if you succeed those, you get the victory point. You take the card and get the victory point. And some of them are things like that, and some of them are just ongoing game effects that kind of change the conditions of the game. Now, as you're moving through here, you're going to be doing a lot of tests. Your missions are going to make you do tests. Your encounters are going to make you test. Even some locations may make you test different systems. To do a test, you look at whatever the current rating is on your dial. You roll a die. You add those together, and if you hit the number that you had to achieve for the test, meet or exceed it, then you've successfully accomplished that test, whatever it is. So let's say right here, the Wild Goose Chase, I have to make a successful level 20 sensors test on an empty space location. So here I am at an empty space location. I'm going to set my sensors before I go to their highest rating, and this is where the clicks come in. Depending on what you're doing that turn, you're going to have a system powered up. So if I know I'm going to be trying to accomplish this mission, I'm going to have high sensors. If I know I'm going to be getting into a fight, I want high weapons and shields. So here I have my engine set to 12. The highest I can get on a D6 is 18. I'm not going to hit the 20 for that mission. So what I could do is I could bring another ship in. We'll add both of our sensors ratings, roll the die. You also have the opportunity to play command cards here. If you have a command card that can somehow increase your sensors rating, you can play one card, add all those numbers together, and again, if you meet or exceed the number, then you accomplish the mission and get the victory point. You'll have 3 mission cards out in front of you at any time. You cycle through. Once you complete one, you bring out a new one, so you always have 3 that you can play with. Another thing you're able to do is exert control on a space location. If you're alone in a location, meaning no enemy ships are there, you have the option of putting down a control token. And you put these down, and you can put down as many as you want. Once that space is empty, if the enemy comes in, they can start taking yours off. And if they get all of yours off, what they can do is start putting down their own. So it's kind of like a tug-of-war match. And if you have control markers down, if you have 1 down, you can build an outpost. If you have 2 down, you can build a colony. And if you have 3 down, you can build a star base. A lot of these will impact your influence missions, and also it'll give you places to repair your damaged ships out in the middle of space without having to go back to your command post. Combat is just another test. The attacker tests their weapons. The defender tests their shields. They can both play cards to add to those numbers. If the attacker's weapons exceed the number for the defender's shields, they do a point of damage. If they can double up on their shield number, then they do 2 points of damage. And if they triple it, they do 3 points of damage. And remember what damage does. It takes you down, each point of damage takes you down to a lower alert level, from white, no alert, to yellow, to red, and after that you're destroyed. If you're the Klingons, or if you're playing the Defiant as the Federation, you have the ability to cloak. And to cloak, all you have to do is set your dial to the cloak space, where you can see pretty much everything except engines is shut down or very weak. You take the ship off, and you put down a cloak token. And you see here we have 2 matching cloak tokens, cloak 6. So one will go on that space, and one would go on the ship card to show that ship is cloaked as cloak 6. On another cloaking action, on another turn, you can put down a sensor echo. And this is a different cloak token, so we know that's the decoy there, cloak 5. So now you can start moving both of these out, and your opponent's not going to know which one you are. So you could still be seen, but it's a lot harder to track you down. If you want to reveal a cloak token, you just go to that location and you do a sensor test. I think it's a sensor test of 15. If you pass, you reveal the token. If it's the ship, then they have to automatically decloak, and you can take another action, attack them, something like that. So basically, you're just going to be flying through space, going on all these different adventures, accomplishing missions, doing encounters, fighting for control. And whoever hits whatever your predetermined victory point total is, again, the game recommends 10 points in your first couple of games. Whoever hits that number first is the winner of Starfleet Captains. I'll start out by talking about what's really the meat and potatoes of this game, and that is the starships. These are really cool. Like I said, it's Starfleet in a box. You get a ton of these. Bunch of Federation ships, a bunch of Klingon ships. And even just as toys, it'd be fun. Pew, 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 pew. But you get to play a really awesome game with them. A couple knocks against these. Some people complain that they're not painted. Doesn't really matter to me. I mean, because look at that. That plastic, that solid color there, that's the color of every Federation ship. And that's the base color of every Klingon ship. So you're missing a little bit of detail, but the fact they're not painted, not a big deal to me. Another complaint that I think is a little more legit, these are kind of fragile, the bases and the ships. Keep a tube of super glue next to you when you're playing, because you may break something off, you may lose a base or a warp nacelle. Compounding that problem is the fact that some of these dials are really tight, and you don't want to grab anything because it's so fragile, so it's hard to get a grip and move those around. I went out and dug out one of my old HeroClix rings. I haven't bought HeroClix in a while, so I don't know if they still provide these in the package, but if they do, they work really well, and if you have one of these laying around, they work really well in moving those hard to manipulate dials. Other than that, I think these ships are fantastic. They come in this really nice, tight insert. None of them are going to fall out. You even get a little sheet to show you where to put them all away so nothing gets broken in the box. Thematically, wow, the game knocks it out of the park. This game just oozes Star Trek. It takes place in the Prime universe, which means Shatner Kirk, not Pine. And I think that's necessary because we really haven't got enough material out of the reboot movies yet to create a game that's this all-encompassing. The other thing they do is they combine all the eras of the Prime universe. So you have Kirk and Picard together in the same world. And some people might not like that. I really enjoy it. I like having Spock and Worf and Odo all on the same ship. And it's cool that you have all those different options and just customize your fleet, customize your ships and your deck and the crew on your different ships and just setting them up different ways. Really fun. Really feels like Star Trek. There's encounter cards, like I said. A lot of them taken from plots from the movies and the TV show. You might have to fight Khan. You might come across Q. You might end up with a bunch of tribbles on your ship. You never know. So just really a lot of Star Trek-like things that make you feel like you're playing out a Star Trek movie or a Star Trek show within the game. That being said, though, the theme is going to shine, for the average player, shine through a lot more on the Federation side than the Klingons. The Federation side, you have Kirk, you have Spock, you have the Enterprise, all these huge pop culture references, iconic symbols of sci-fi, that even if you're not a Star Trek fan and really don't care about it, just living in the Western world in the past 50 years, you're going to know who these characters are. The Klingon side, on the other hand, a lot of deep cuts there. Like I said, the ships are really obscure. The characters, the crew members, you may recognize a couple of them, but I mean, some of these are like guys who were on an episode of Next Generation for 5 minutes, and now you have to make them the captain of your ship. So again, technically they're both very thematic, but it shines through more on Federation. Unless you're a very, very hardcore Star Trek fan, you're going to know all this Klingon stuff. So if you have the average Star Trek fan and somebody who's not a Star Trek fan, let them play the Federation side. Speaking of, you don't have to be a big Star Trek fan to enjoy this game. I've played with guys who really don't care about Star Trek and they still love it. It's a fun sci-fi game, space and exploration and combat and all that stuff. It can be enjoyed that way, even if you're not that into the theme. Mechanically, I love how the dials work. I love changing those up and strategizing. Okay, how am I going to have, I got to move real far this turn. I need engines, but that guy's coming to fight me. I also need shields. So making those decisions is a lot of fun. You really feel like you're captaining the ship. The combat cards and the command cards, all different things you can do with those. Those feel really, put you in control of the game and control your ships and what you're doing. All the tests and the missions and everything, just a whole lot of fun. It's just an awesome Star Trek game. If you love Star Trek, I don't know why we're talking about this. You should have, bought this game already a long time ago and played it many, many times. But even if you don't like Star Trek, I think it's a great game. If you just love the sci-fi feel, if you just like fun tactical war games, it has that feel to it as well. Lighter game, of course. It's not a big war game, not very heavy, but it has that feel to it. Great game. Definitely worth checking out. Definitely give this one my seal of approval. All right, that's my review of Starfleet Captains. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful for you. And until we meet again, may the Force be with you.
Boo!
Oh, for crying out loud!
Boo!
Guys, thanks again for tuning into Beards and Board Games and watching that guest review from Kirk there. You've really made me want to go out and buy that game. I'm surprised I haven't already, to be honest, Kirk, but my wife's not going to be happy that at this time in December I'm going out and buying another extravagant game like that. So, thanks. However, thanks again for watching another episode of Beards and Board Games. You've been watching it with me, Georgie, and obviously Kirk from Roll and Move Reviews. Don't forget to go over to his YouTube channel and subscribe. Other than that, catch you guys later. This episode was sponsored by GamesLore, the UK's largest specialist games retailer, which can be found at gameslore.com.